objective test items. The objective type items were no doubt developed in response to the criticisms leveled against the essay type items, poor content sampling, unreliable scoring, time consuming the grade, and that's about it, okay? And then what? And we will what? We will have a section on essay test. Okay? Now, let's take a look at the objective type test items. You have the supply type, like short answer, okay, calling for what recall, okay, recalling information, all right? And that's the supply type. So subjects or students have to rely on recall or on memory. Select type recognition memory, because the answers are already there, right? In true false, whether it's true or false matching, and multiple choice. Okay, one of the choices is the answer. Take a look at the advantages of what objective test. Okay, now remember objective test. We have what short answer if it could be dichotomously scored, and matching true false and multiple choice. So an economical way of obtaining information from examinees, because in general it takes much less time to answer an objective type item than an essay question. All right, and in 1 hour we have about 50 to 60 items in multiple choice or true false or a short answer in all objective type. Okay, so we have broad content sampling, and it is the likelihood is good that we test how much the students actually know or have actually learned. All right, so that's the perspective, the broad content coverage, and also within an hour, let's say 50, 60 test items, we obtain a lot of information from the students. Right? Adequate content sampling, because of longer tests, therefore higher reliability. Okay, and because we have adequate or broader content sampling, therefore the likelihood is good we have better content validity. That is to say, we want content validity means the content is measuring what we want, what the test purpose to mention. Objective test scoring is very easy, very easy. It could be scored by machine Scantron or anyone with a scoring keys, and it's highly accurate. If it is accurate, then it increases the reliability of the test. All right, and it tends to urge students to build up a broad base of knowledge, skills, and abilities, simply because of 50 or 60 items. All right. Okay. Disadvantages is remember, it is very difficult to prepare, because in general, for a 1 hour test, the item writer has to create something like 50 to 60 items compared to 6 or 7 half-page essay items. All right. Okay. Now, so just the number of test items more. Now, for each item, there is what? There is a stamp, STEM, stamp. Let's say what it is, item 1, okay? Then what? A, B, C, D, E. Let's say this one is a 5-choice multiple choice. This is called a stamp, the item stamp. And then these are what, let's say what, this is the correct answer. Then all this, okay, these are called what? Distractors. Oh, in some books, they spell it like this, distractors. That means what? Incorrect alternative. All right. Now, the thing is that what this is the correct answer. So item writer must know this. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 in a 5-choice multiple choice, 4 distractors. Okay, if remember our test wiseness lecture, if this is the opposite of D, and B is like A, C is like A, E is like A, we have a 1-4 split. Is that right? Ridiculous relationship. So then you are giving the answer away. All right. So that's why it is what it is important. It's to what to have what homogeneity. Okay, we have what the homogeneity of distractors. The distractors must have this property, homogeneous with the correct answer. Let's say you ask for a female name. This is a female name. Make sure all of them are female names. Okay. Then the distractors are homogeneous with the correct answer. Now, this is very difficult to do. Okay, that's why multiple choice test items are good test items are very difficult to construct. See here, say this is the correct answer. The first homogeneous distractor, let's say the first homogeneous distractor, homogeneous to the correct answer. That is relatively easy. The second, difficult. The third, extremely difficult. Almost impossible. You know what I mean? So it is what? It is a challenge to have homogeneous distractors in multiple choice test items. All right? So it is difficult to write a good multiple choice test item. Now, multiple choice, it is very difficult to create one, not just multiple choice test item, objective items that measure higher mental functioning. Let's say Bloom's level 3 to 6, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. It's very, very difficult to do that. Okay? Not impossible, but it takes time. Okay? It takes a lot of time to do that. Right? Peter Zhao has been trained to be an item writer. Now, other than those who are psychometric, those mathematics, statistics, and I can assure you, sometimes I had to scratch my head. It became bold. Okay, to write good multiple choice items, not easy. All right, now objective test items cannot test students' ability to organize ideas, synthesize ideas, and to express these ideas coherently in their own words. Only essay could do that. Essay in written form and in oral form could do that. No other objective test could do it. Okay. Now, but then objective test item, because the answer is already there for each item, therefore is susceptible to guessing. Is that right? So this is the problem. But of course here, psychometric could handle this. Okay, could handle this, but then it is beyond the scope of this course to do that, to talk about it. Factor to consider in writing objective test items. All right, so tests for important facts and knowledge, okay, and not trivia or footnotes or preface in the book. All right, so this is important. Test time is precious, right? Like Gollum in Lord of the Rings, okay? It is my treasure, my beloved. Okay, all right, you could tailor the question, okay, to fit the age of the student's ability level, or CL, conceptual level of the student. And of course, the purpose of the test, So vocabulary should be commensurate with age and level of ability. And that item format should also be suitable for examinee's age, ability, as well as the purpose of the test. Okay, example, primary grades, you use true false rather than multiple choice, which has to be multiple choice has to be eased in gradually, okay, as the child grows older enough. Okay, you start up with true false, and then 3 choices and 4 choices, eventually 5. Right? Okay. Write items as clearly and as simply as possible. Parsimony. So avoid using ambiguous words or difficult words, because it is not an English test. It's not an English test of vocabulary. So we must heed the notion of parsimony and the KISS principle. Keep things simple, okay? Or KISS is keep it simple, stupid, is that right? So keep things simple, concise, and to the point. All right? Now, to improve clarity, use good grammar, good sentence structure, and as advice here, use short and simple sentences if possible. Okay, you realize that here, speed readers look for simple sentences because they carry the most information, and then you could skip those adjective clauses, that type of noun clauses. If you only want to read for idea, okay, read for content. Okay, so that's one thing speed reader has informed us. Avoid lifting statements verbatim from the text, from the textbook. Why? Statements lifted out of context may lose most of their intended meaning, and the item may become ambiguous. All right, so don't do that. And another thing is that the use of textbook language in a test encourages the student to memorize rather than to understand the subject matter. They just commit to rote memory. Right after the exam, everything is forgotten. Avoid using interrelated test items. What is that? Let's say here. See, item 1, you have this here, then what? A, B, C, D. Let's say B is the correct answer. Then item 2, based on what? On item number 1, and what? A, B, C, D. So if the examinee does not choose B, then this one is automatically wrong almost. Okay? So the two items are are related or interrelated, sometimes free. Okay, and based on this here, right? So the three items are interrelated. So the examinee would be penalized 3 times if the examinee gets this one incorrect. Right? That type of thing. Many years ago, can't remember how long ago, Peter Chow published a paper called soft length items. And with while I was in Alberta, using what I believe, if I remember correctly, more than 1 million data points. And of course, I proposed a strategy to solve this problem. But anyway, out of the question. All right. So avoid using interrelated items. Make sure each item is independent of one another. All right. One correct answer only. That is to say, sometimes there are 2, sometimes even 3 correct answers. But then the trick is best. Okay, put the word best instead of correct. Then you avoid a lot of arguments from the student. Right? This one is also correct. This is also correct. What do you say, teacher? That type of thing, Okay, so one correct or one best answer only. Otherwise, students would argue and challenge the correctness of their wrong answers. So that's important. Avoid negatively worded questions or items whenever possible. Now, we know that negatively worded test items have lower reliability than positively worded test items. From research, we know this is the case. Students, especially young students, tend to overlook the negative because of carelessness, and then both the reliability and validity of the test will be lowered. Now, if negatively worded questions or items are to be used, the negative should be made explicit by what? Well, there are a lot of ways to do that. By underlining, using bold type font, capitalizing, that kind of thing. So, for example, the word not, highlighted, okay, by underlining boldface, italic, whatever, okay, not the word can't, won't, wouldn't, okay, or like couldn't, that type of thing. You know what I mean, okay? Now, do not use, never use double negatives, because they serve only to confuse the students, and therefore one should never be used. Right? Now, another thing is that what the problem with negative items. For example, say you have one, let's say you have an item here. This is the stem. And you have the word one. Not here. Let's say, let's hope you underline, and then well, say true or false. Okay, just true, false, before we even venture into multiple choice. If it is true, if you select true, you are dealing with only one negative, right? But if you select false here, you have to negate negatively worded statement. Is that right? You have to negate this not. Isn't that a double negative? You negate a negative. All right. So, therefore, there is a big difference psychometrically. I mean, I could prove to you this is case, but then let's get rid of the psychometric. Okay? This you're dealing with one negative. This, the negate a negative, you're dealing with two negatives. You understand what I mean? Okay, so therefore, compare the two here, if the answer is true, if the answer is true, it is more reliable than if the answer is false. Same item. You understand what I mean? Okay, so this is the case. So you avoid negatively worded question or item whenever possible. And if you have to use the not or couldn't or except, that type of thing, underline it. Okay, underline it. Make sure in your last assignment you do that. Okay. All right. Do not give the answer away. Remember our test wiseness lecture. Having information in the stem of one item provides the answer to another item. So that's giveaway. Also, do not provide secondary cues. Remember grammatical consistency, length, specific determinants, and so on from your test wiseness lectures. Okay? Correct answers should be randomly positioned in a multiple choice test. And besides, notice there's approximately equal numbers of correct answers for A, B, C, D, and E, but not exactly equal. Otherwise, examinees can guess. Right? So lots of things to consider. Right? Lots of things to consider in writing one objective test item, especially multiple choice. Independent reviewer is warranted. Well, of course, I know not too many teachers are doing this because it is time consuming. Is that right? Some teachers would come up with the test question the night before the test. while they are taking a shower. That's in the textbook, okay, not from Peter Chow. Okay? All right. And independent reviewer of your test items is a good idea, okay? Preferably by a teacher who teaches the same subject matter. Ask this teacher to look at the item difficulty, the adequacy of content sampling, plausibility of the distractors, see if they are homogeneous to the correct answer, adequacy of the scoring key, okay, and technical quality of the items like sentence expression, ambiguous wording, grammar, and so on, okay? All right, now adequacy of scoring key, whether you have predominantly C, okay? Or you know what I mean, okay? You know what I mean. Differences between essay and objective tests. So let's take a look at this here. Okay. Essay test ask what? Ask examiners to recall, organize, synthesize ideas, integrate ideas, and express those ideas coherently in their own words. So only essay test could do this, or term paper or a thesis. Because what they are long, right? They're long. Objective test here objective tests rely on recognition memory, right? Say true, false, matching, multiple choice. The answers are already there. Right? The answer for each item is there. For short answer, this is the departure from this here. For short answer, you are asking the examiners to recall rather than to recognize, right? But then what? If there is only one correct answer for short answer, then it is objective. But if it is not, if it is a sentence, if you give part marks or take away some marks for grammatical mistake, so then it is not scored economously. Economously means right or wrong, pass or fail. Then it is not objective. Okay, so remember, short answer is a cross between essay and objective. So we have to see if it can be scored economously, it is objective. If not, it is like a very short essay. All right. Essay test consists of fewer questions, 6 to 7. In a thesis, just one question or just one item, right? But calls for lengthy answers, right? Lengthy answers. Here, objective tests have more questions, but then those tests require less time to answer each question, right? 1 minute per item as the generally accepted rule for objective test items. So essay test less efficient in terms of obtaining examinees information, say, obtaining their achievement status. It is less efficient, less reliable because it's most essay tests are much shorter than objective tests. Superior than essay tests in terms of efficiency, reliability, and adequacy of sampling. Right? This one has poor content sampling. Right? So within an hour, remember 6 to 7 items. This is 50 to 60 items. All right. So therefore, what here is inadequate sampling of objectives. This one here, adequacy of sampling, content sampling. Students say test-taking behavior. Students spend most of their time here thinking and writing. On the other hand, an objective test is reading and thinking, not much writing. That right, you just put a check mark, boom, okay? Okay. The quality of essay test is what? It relies largely upon the skill of the rater or the marker. Why? A good essay answer can be ruined by what? Ruined by a terrible marker. Now, research has indicated to us the following. There are many papers on this. Let me show you one early example. Okay, we have many. Okay. One essay question was marked by, if I remember correctly, 60-some teachers. Oh, I can't remember now. Peter is getting old. Okay, so let's say 60 teachers. Okay, who were 60 teachers who taught in the same field. Okay, then the essay marks range what the mark for that question ranged from what? From if I remember correctly, 41% to 93%. Can you imagine the variability, the kind of unreliability in marking essay? So essay is known one of the biggest complaints about essay is that unreliability in scoring. Okay, highly unreliable. Let's say if the teacher is very fond of you, just looking at your name, I will give the student high mark. If they look at Peter Chow, oh my goodness, I hate him. Okay, no matter how good I am, you flunk, Peter, you flunk. That type of thing, you know what I mean? Anyway, here for objective test, then the quality of the test rests upon the skill of the item writer. All right, let's say if there is no 1-4 split or 1-3 split, okay, if there are not secondary cues from test wiseness, then the test items, all those test items will be very good. Right? Essay test easy to prepare, 6 or 7 items. Back there, I could come up with those the night before while I'm taking the shower. All right, but we have to admit, it is difficult to grade one accurately because each one of us, we have our bias, right? You look at the name Peter Chow, I will flunk him. Okay, that type of thing, right? Personal biases. And sometimes the marker break for lunch, having a beer, coming back to continue marking. You know the scenario, So score reliability is low, is very low. As to say, there is no agreement among different markers of the same test. Okay, so I hope I have given you more meaning about the word reliability. So it's difficult to prepare for objective test, the STEM, the more homogeneous alternative. Oh, they're killing me. All right? Difficult to prepare, but very easy to grade. Anyone can grade it because it's objective. Is that right? So score reliability is high, very high, close to perfect. if you don't fall asleep. Okay. Now, essay test affords student and the graded marker the opportunity to be individualistic. Okay, students could write whatever they want. Marker could mark the paper however they want. All right? Freedom of expression is given solely to the item writers. All right? Because the test takers, they have nothing to write, just mark the correct answer. Bluffing. That is also one of the major criticisms directed at what essay. Inadequate content sampling, terrible marking, and then susceptible to bluffing. What is bluffing? Okay, let's say two examinees. A, B. Both of them only know so much. Okay, and then A only put down here so much. B only so much, same content-wise, but B could embellish it with good sentence structure, excellent grammar, okay, and also what B could put a lot of junk here, but beautifully. And then what here, A, the answer should be, even though the content covered is so little, but then B answer, the answer is long and beautifully written. So what do you think? This student bluffs. This one does not do that. Same content. Okay. So theoretically, they should receive the same mark. But no. The reality is not like that. This one may front, this one may pass beautifully. So that is called bluffing. All right. So bluffing is a serious matter. It's negatively affect one essay. So it is one of the major criticisms directed at essay. Okay. Guessing objective test. Yes, you could guess. You don't know the answer, pick C. That type of thing. Is that right? We could guess. Okay, we could guess. Now, however, we know that on the average, okay, I mean, over many tests, the effect of guessing is negligible. Okay, how do you know, Peter? Trust me. I could only tell you, trust me, because psychometrically we know. Okay, we know psychometrically, and also psychometrically and statistically, we know. Trust me. Okay, Peter Chow wrote a PhD thesis partly on how to deal with guessing, of course, using a highly sophisticated mathematical model. Okay? Anyway, so guessing can be managed. And especially nowadays with computer-assisted testing, okay, that is Peter Chow's PhD thesis. Okay? Computer-assisted testing could render guessing, how should I say, negligible, the effect of guessing negligible, okay, with the computer tailored testing or computerized adaptive testing. But let's not get into that. So the idea is that guessing could be managed, bluffing could not, okay? Score distribution may vary from scorer to scorer because of what the scorer reliability is low. score distribution is completely determined by the test because of objective scoring. Right? So there is no variability. Here are lots of variabilities. Right? Okay, so that's what these are the differences between essay and objective test. Okay? So we'll stop here and thank you.